Hello and welcome to Southern Circuit. I'm Rickley Stone. This week's journey features one of Tallahassee's most loved and respected individuals, the woman who brings so much life and love to so many, Dr. Sally Carrioff.
I was coming out of that coma. My mama had taped something on the machines that were keeping me alive, and it said, "I can't go on. I mean, I can't go on. I swear I can't go on. I really can't go on. So I guess I'll get up and go on."
Jeannie Desguin is a firefighter that is, one of 11 women working for Tallahassee's fire department. When Jeannie's not chasing fires, she's chasing her dream, to become a top aerobics instructor. But first on tonight's Southern Circuit, a stop at the North Florida Fairgrounds, where we found an international aerial act that originates right out of our own backyard. From Havana, the sensational Lees.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. At this time, the North Florida Fair has a special treat for you. Let me draw your attention to this impressive structure located in front of the fair office. It's called a giant space wheel. This unique rigging has no motors, no gimmicks, no hidden wires. Its movement comes only from the movements and actions of these brave performers you are about to meet. The North Florida Fair is indeed too proud to present for your entertainment these aerial wonders, those daredevils of height, the sensational Lees. Let's give them a big round of applause and warm them up there.
I'm the first graduate from the FSU circus, Flying High, to go professional as a career with the circus. And my wife and I were the first couple ever to perform on this apparatus. It was developed as a single, working on pure counterbalance with a weight at one end. And then when I married Nancy, it was just a matter of taking the counterbalance weight off and putting Nancy on the wheel. And she looked a lot better than the weight.
For the last 25 years, Lee Heisinger has been spinning circles all around the world in his big wire wheel. His wife and partner of 24 years retired in June, and 22-year-old daughter Robin Weber stepped into the act to balance the giant space wheel so the show could go on. She
learned the act ostensibly in 6 days of practice, 3 days here and 3 days in Europe, and then we went ahead and did the act. We didn't do the act complete as we can do it now, but she, within a week's time of doing the show over there, she was doing the entire act, and I'm extremely proud of her. She's got a natural ability. She was born to the circus.
With only the 6 days practice, it was difficult to get used to it, but I knew I only had those days, so I had to learn what I could in the short time. I'm concentrating so much when I'm up there, I really don't, it's not really a scared feeling that I have. It's more concentration and respect for what is going on. And when something goes wrong, my heart starts to jump, you know, but other than that, I'm concentrating so much I don't really feel anything that's going on around me.
I grew up in New Jersey, and I guess my roots in show business go back to when I was 4 and 5. I grew up backstage to a summer stock theater, and then every summer in Maplewood, where I lived, we had a 4th of July circus come in, and I guess I was 9 or 10 when I started helping. I started with the animal acts, helping groom the dogs and carrying water for the animals, and then I kind of graduated to aerial acts, pounding stakes and carrying heavy rigging and helping these aerial acts set up on the 3rd of July for their big show on the 4th. And I guess that's where it all began. I thought I could come here and get it out of my system, but coming here was like getting an injection of sawdust. And there you go. I met the man who invented this act in Maplewood in 1958, and he was an old man traveling by himself at the time, and he asked me if I'd like to try it, and I happened to be his weight, so I did. And to learn this act, you have to get up and play on it, and I played on it all summer long, helping him. I traveled with him that summer, and I learned to do it. And then in 1960, he built himself a new rigging, a twin, and wanted to sell this one, which is the original. And the opportunity came to go to South America with the Ringling Brothers Circus. And so all at once I quit school, I married my wife, and we ran away, joined the circus for 14 weeks, paid honeymoon in South America. It's really great.
Yeah, because I know where my movement is for that. I'm a hair behind you.
What are we doing the rim walk?
Yeah, I'll do the rim walk. Again. Again.
It's scary for me now at this stage of my career only when I make a mistake. It's like Captain Nemo said, I've had many incidents, but only one accident. You have to concentrate, and it's 6.5 minutes of intense concentration in order to do the 6.5 minutes tomorrow. And sometimes you find that you lose that concentration a little bit, and that's when you make the slips. Normally you make the slips on the easier parts of the act, because subconsciously, I guess, you say, well, this is easy, I don't have to really concentrate now. Boom, you make this mistake. And I've come closer to falling off the wheel doing that little march I do inside the cage, because it's in tempo, and at times I have zigged when it's zagged, and I've come close to being thrown out of the wheel. So you've got to give it everything every show. You know, I think it's pretty amazing that somebody can do the same routine for 25 years and not get bored with it. And of course, that's the dangerous part, is getting bored. But you change your locale, you change your audiences, so you try to keep the edge that way. In this country, it's nice to be independent, because I work 15 to 20 weeks a year, and the rest of the time I'm in and out from our home here in Havana, Florida. And so you have a chance, when you're home, you're free. It's maybe a little bit nerve-wracking waiting for engagements to come in, but you're still free to do what you want to do when you're home. And I'm not constrained by this 9 to 5 routine every day. So there's nothing really routine about the life. There are certainly hard parts of it. The hardest part is fighting for money when you get a contract. The most dangerous part, by far, is driving from here to the next engagement. I mean, much more dangerous than doing the act. And the difficult part is actually finding work. And the nerve-wracking part is waiting for these telephone calls or these letters to come and making you offers. Right now, this show we're on here in Tallahassee is the last show we have, period. And I just hope that, I can go home now and there'll be a message on the phone saying, give me a call from an agent or something, and we'll go from there.
It's almost like a fantasy come true for me, because I always said one day I want to do that, and here it is for me, finally. And I don't know how long it will be here, so I'm enjoying it while I am doing it.
There's not many people in the world who can say that they were both the first and perhaps the best at what they do. So I guess I consider myself a pretty lucky person.
There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. The sensational leads. Give them a round of applause, Elijah. Beautiful. We hope you enjoyed the show. Make sure you tell your friends and neighbors about this beautiful act at the North Florida Fair. Thank you very much. The next show is at 7:30.
For just over a year now, the boys here at Tallahassee's main fire department have been chasing fires with the help of a 30-year-old female aerobics instructor. Jeannie Desguin is one of 11 women firefighters working for the city. It's a job that requires a person to be at their very best, and that's a challenge that Jeannie likes and takes on in everything she does.
I think I'm average, but I'm probably not normal. Really. To me, I'm just an average woman, The people that I hang around with are just like, they're like me. They talk like me, they eat like me, they kind of think like me, they dress like me. But when you transplant me and put me into the fire department, I become real weird, They think I am just so weird.
What Jeannie Desguin describes as weird, others might simply call restless.
It's just a different type of job. The hours were interesting. I'm not an 8 to 5 person, Monday through Friday. I have a lot of different interests, and with this 24 on, 48 off, it affords me the time for the other things in my life. My roommate was the one that said, you know, hey, this is just, you know, you can handle yourself in these situations. You're strong, you know, you're bossy, you like to do this kind of stuff. Why don't you give it a try? Let's go give it a try. And I said, sure, you know, I'll go if you go. And so we went down, took the test, and it just went on from there. I'll tell you one thing, I developed a nervous tick in my eye the first 2 nights I slept at the station. You're on pins and needles. I never get a good night's sleep. I wake up with bags under my eyes. It's horrible. Only because it's different for me. You know, I don't know, it freaks me out. Because you hear the bell, and usually you're going to go. The main station goes a lot. We're probably the busiest station down there, but you're told it's a life and death situation when the bell rings. Even though in the back of your head, you're thinking, "Oh, this is only Tallahassee. It's a small town. You know, there's no big plants, nothing. You know, nobody's going to die, nothing's going to happen." But still, you've got to say, "Okay, here we go. You know, it's a fire. Somebody's house is burning down, or somebody's building. You know, their livelihood is gone." And sometimes that's it. You've really got to clear your mind and just, you know how people say they just go on automatic, you know, and their training just takes over. And after that happens, you know, you walk away, you know, you kind of with a little bit of a strut, you know, even though you may be doing something that nobody sees you do. And that's not the purpose. You're not there to do something and have somebody praise you. You're there to get someone out of, you know, to help someone, get somebody out of jam. I feel good because I know that, because I'm real capable, and I'm thinking, gosh, if I were the public and I knew that people like me were working for the fire department, I'd feel real good, because, yeah, I know that this person's going to work, and that's the caliber of people that are down there at the department. You know, so yeah, I did, because you don't think about it. Your average person on the street doesn't think about the quality of protection you have. I mean, I never did, you know. But now that when I hear a siren, I know the people that are in the trucks. I know usually which station is going and where they're going, you know, and you know, I just feel like I know a little bit more about the community. Tallahassee is a little bit more my hometown now. Well, my home, not my hometown. So that's neat.
Reach out! When Jeannie's not chasing fires, she's chasing her dream to become a top aerobics instructor.
Aerobics encompasses a lot of sports and activities, but aerobic dance specifically is what I like, because I like dancing. And I know I could never be a rockette, but aerobic dance lets me be a dancer in a small time way, you know. And it's good for people. It's good for people, and I'm interested in teaching it the right way and helping people to benefit from it the right way.
Whatever Jeannie decides to do, no doubt she'll do it with the same gusto she demonstrates fighting fires and working out. It's all part of her philosophy for a happy life.
See, I think that's what makes me so different than most of the people around me. I don't worry about a lot of things. The everyday little things, you know, that you just let get you uptight. I don't worry about those things, and in a way, if I were to look back, if I were to step outside myself and see myself, I'd probably think, if I didn't know me, you know, boy, she's feather-headed, you know, she acts like she hasn't got a care in the world, you know, don't she, you know, wow, what a dope, you know, because I kind of, you know, I really think that I seem like I don't worry about a lot of things, and I don't, because there's no point in it. It makes you old before you really are, you know. Okay, thank you. Thanks, ladies.
There are optimists and pessimists and realists. And then there's Dr. Sally Carrioth, who was once described as a manic depressive who's never gotten depressed. That's pretty amazing when you consider that she spends her days and nights helping people cope with the idea of dying.
But I can help you with it. Take my hand and maybe together we can make it bearable. You see this wonderful machine here. That is such a miracle that when you get up in the morning and all parts work comparatively well, that alone should just send you off. But it's got one little flaw, and it's not even a flaw, it's just something that you must never forget. And that is that in the very best of circumstances, it's only going to last 100 years. And in the scheme of the world, that's how long that is. This Earth has been around 4 billion years. 100 years is a heartbeat. You've got no time to waste. You've just been given a moment. Helen Keller once said, life is either a daring adventure or it is nothing. That is true.
They're Helen Keller's words, but they summarize the way Dr. Sally Carrioth has chosen to live her life, packing more activities into one day than many of us do in a week. She juggles her responsibilities as a mother, nurse, teacher, author, radio talk show host, and perhaps her most demanding role, and the one for which she's best known, grief therapist.
And we talked, and what, 2 seconds I sat down and said, this is not what you had in mind. And she said, no, it's not supposed to happen this way. It's not supposed to happen this fast. And here she'd been keeping up all of this strength for the rest of the family. And who was going to take care of her?
Grief is not just death. Grief is changing jobs or going as far as you can, or getting a divorce, or losing a pet, or being a Vietnam vet that comes home and is a villain instead of a hero, or anything that involves what causes you sadness. And so I guess what I talk to people about is, most specifically, I deal with people who are dying, and because their family is so sad and people close to them don't know what to say, I am just someone for them to chat with. I don't have any delusions that I change things in any way. They still must do all the hard work, and grieving is hard work. And it's merciless. And I have a reverential respect for grief because it never lets up. I mean, it's always got you when you are sad, if you lose a child or whatever. So it's just that day-to-day business. It's something you can't tire of. A grief therapist isn't something that can say after 6 weeks, I'm sick of this now. Get well. Because people can't. It takes them a long, long time. So it's really no more than saying, let's talk about it. Let's see if we can kind of focus this so that it's bearable, not even necessarily day to day, but hour to hour, minute to minute. In the beginning, when you lose a child, if we can get you from 1 minute to the next, that's a victory.
At the time, you have so many family members and neighbors saying, you should do this, you should have open coffin, you should do this, you know, and I didn't know what to do. And she told me that you have to do what feels right for you, that there aren't any rules. That
Mickey Tate met Sally 3 years ago when Mickey's 14-year-old son was killed in an accident. Their professional relationship grew into a close friendship. And as natural as that progression might seem, in the business of grief therapy, that's not always possible.
I have, through my life, elicited very strong feelings in people. They either are great advocates or great adversaries. There's no middle-of-the-road business. I know that I know very little, that there's no day that goes by that I don't learn something new and that people don't have something to teach me. But somewhere along the line, I got a feel for grief, and I don't know where that came from. And that's not to say that I don't do a great deal wrong. I do. But I try to go back and say, if that was wrong, if what I said didn't work, let's try it again. And it's really tenaciousness as much as anything. It's like a puppy with a root. I'll hang on to it until you feel better. Even when you try to throw me out, when you get mad because I was around when all the sadness occurred and you want me out of your life, I'll understand all of that. I'll understand when you need to throw me away because I'm unnecessary. That's the idea, to put myself out of business so that you are back into the mainstream and independent enough to do whatever you do.
there was a time when I had my daughter and I was alone and I didn't have a way for her to get to school. She drove her to school. She picked her up at school. We did campaign buttons for my daughter when she was running for vice president at Trinity Catholic School. Sally had bought all the, you know, the construction paper, and we sat and glued and cut and pasted. So it just isn't sitting talking. I mean, it's just hours and hours. I needed a cake for something, and I was, at those times you can't really do what you're supposed to do. You mean well, you want to, but it just doesn't come that easily. And she'd bake the cake in my absence, you know, and so it's just not phone conversations. It's just not her there coming and holding your hand. It's so much more than that.
Is she nauseous now? This is what you gave her?
Yeah, that's what I just gave her.
Okay. You know, that means that this chemotherapy is starting to kick in.
Yeah.
And that she's going to have some real side effects. Did you talk to her about that?
Yeah, a little bit. She's real drowsy too.
I'm going to go just poke my head in the... Let's go down. I'm going to poke my head in the door and tell her that I'll be back in a minute to... I was going to say, you let that suppository work. Okay, sweet lady. Now I'm going to come back and see him.
Okay,
See if you can get some sleep with that.
thank you.
You know, that means this medicine is working now.
Okay.
And I know it's making you feel achy, but that means that we're starting to get some results.
Thank
It's
you
a
so
fine
much.
line. You just rest for a tad, and I'll come back and sit in a minute.
Okay.
Okay, sweetie. Why don't you put that side
Thank
rail,
you.
that side rail up on that side. Anytime I'm working with a caretaker, I guess what I say to them, and the nursing students particularly, because historically they have not had a great deal of power in the healthcare setting. If you look at it as a patriarchal society with the physician being the father and the nurturing matriarch being the mama and then the patient being the child, that is not as healthy as it needs to be. So with nurses especially, I tell them a couple things. One, if your job ever becomes so important that you're afraid to lose it, you've got to quit. Because you're done being a patient advocate. You will no longer take risks to save a patient's life because you are so fearful that a doctor will yell at you or someone may yell at you. And so if you do nothing else as a caretaker, specifically a nurse, you must be a risk taker. You must be willing to put your life on the line every day to save somebody else's.
Sally's willingness to take risks extends beyond her work in the medical profession. An active member of the Peace Coalition and founder of the Women's Party for Survival, she writes and lectures passionately about nuclear war, apartheid, violence against women, and a host of, as she puts it, lost causes.
I believe that the time has come when those people that have been relegated a place of anonymity and isolation and I have to speak specifically to this part of Florida, need to have someone listen to them. I believe that there are too many people that have no power because no one listens. And I don't know how to change that other than to think along political lines. And maybe that means that I will help with a campaign, and maybe that means I would run in my own, not for Sally Carriott, but for those people who need someone to listen to them. I'm here on Talk Radio WTNT AM 1270. Our number is 386-6147. Please call us, no matter what happens to be on your mind. We want to hear from you. Today our guest is Dr. Diane.
What is the most important thing to you in your life?
I have not done very many important things in my life. But on the 9th of April in 1978, I had Miss Amanda Lee, and she is as important as anything will ever be to me. And I recognize that the parenting and nurturing of a child is the greatest thing we can be given, and most of us take it so lightly and probably do it so poorly. I know that I certainly do, and she is a forgiving child. She allows me my transgressions day after day. But she is important because she is truly our future, and I believe, and perhaps because of my grief work, I am made more aware of the fact that nobody promises us tomorrow. And so she is a gift to me, like a ray of sunshine every single moment.
The fact that no one promises us tomorrow really hit home for Sally 3 years ago when she was suddenly stricken with meningitis encephalitis, a virus which miraculously didn't kill her, but left her paralyzed and unable to speak or even remember her own name. The doctor said she would be a vegetable. 3 months later, she was making speeches and pursuing one of her favorite endeavors, writing.
I suspect of all the things that I am most eager about, it is the ability to have a pen in my hand and something flow out at the end of it that's almost mystical. When my characters come to visit me, and it is interesting because I do not type, and after my encephalitis I don't even write very well, but I can be in the bed at night and all of a sudden a thought that I really need will come to me so clearly that I can just pick up my pen and it flows out on the paper. Writing, and probably because I deal a lot with death and there's not a definitive text, there's no cookbook for it, I have found that I write moments of lives. I've just finished a short story called Tribute to the Parents of a Child Dying Young. It talks really about the grief that surrounds a family and the dynamics that occur. And so the writing to me is very special. I do drive my secretary insane because I literally will walk in with things on paper plates, napkins, pieces of towel, and she will put them all together, and she's very gracious about it. And we'll begin to type off these things that are set about on her desk. And so my writing is a great gift as far as I'm concerned. It's a gift to me.
And a possible speaking engagement that our hospital and our local hospice, Northgate, Florida, could coordinate.
I had a wonderful patient who wrote, if I had my life to live over again, I'd try to make more mistakes next time. I try not to be so damn perfect. I'd relax more, I'd limber up, I'd be sillier than I've been on this trip. In fact, I know very few things I'd take quite so seriously. I'd be crazier and I'd certainly be less hygienic. I'd take more chances, I'd take more trips, I'd watch more sunsets, I'd swim more rivers, I'd eat more ice cream and fewer...
As much time as I've got, I'm going to use it day after day, minute after minute. I want to find a time when, certainly, and it sounds grandiose when I say we can put things in harmony, but I want to go on saving souls or having someone save mine by any means that may work. And if it means having to become very public about it, then that's what we'll have to do. But I don't see great changes. I see this life as being pretty well set in terms of that it is not I who am going to save the world. I'm sure going to give it a shot at one person at a time.
That's Southern Circuit for this week. Thank you for being with us. This program brings Southern Circuit to the end of our 4th year. It's also our last. I'm taking a new job here in Tallahassee, and the rest of the Southern Circuit staff and crew will be focusing their energies and talents on our other local programs. From time to time, you'll be able to see Southern Circuit in reruns and in repackaged programs featuring the best of. For all of us, working on Southern Circuit has been a special assignment. We've made so many good friends, and we hope we've been able to provide you with a better look at our community and why it's such a special place in which to live. We couldn't have done it without you, those of you who let us into your lives and those of you who led us to your neighbors. We thank you, and we're going to miss you. I'm Rick Lee Stone. From all of us, good night.